When a senator's daughter walked into court thinking her last name was a shield, she had no idea she was about to learn the hardest lesson of her privileged life. It's a quiet Thursday morning at Providence Municipal Court. The clock reads 10:30. The kind of morning where justice moves at its usual pace, calm, measured, deliberate. Then she walks in, Victoria Romano, 22 years old, designer everything. Her handbag costs more than most people's rent. Diamonds flash from her wrist like warning signals. But it's not the expensive accessories that grab your attention. It's the way she moves. Like the courtroom is her runway. Like the judge is just another obstacle between her and her lunch reservation. Behind her, scrambling to keep up, is Thomas Whitman, a defense attorney who charges $1,000 an hour and suddenly looks like he's not getting paid enough. You're probably wondering what brings the daughter of a powerful senator to Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom. Let me paint you a picture. Last Saturday, 2 a.m, downtown Providence. Victoria was behind the wheel of her father's government-issued sedan, live streaming to her followers while treating red lights like gentle suggestions. 3 intersections, 3 ignored signals, 55 miles per hour in a 25 zone. Then came the sound of crumpling metal, her car plowing directly into a parked police cruiser. When officers Martinez and Johnson rushed the scene, expecting concern or apology, what they got instead was a masterclass in entitlement. Victoria stepped out of the wreckage and delivered a line that would change everything. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? I'm Senator Romano's daughter. You have no authority over me. When Officer Martinez attempted a breathalyzer test, Victoria actually laughed. I don't take tests from people my family employs. Do you understand that my father essentially signs your paychecks? The arrest attempt? Even worse. You can't arrest me. That's not how this works. I have immunity. By tomorrow morning, you won't have badges to shine. Every word, every threat, every delusional claim, captured on body camera footage that exploded across the internet. Today, Victoria stands before Judge Caprio, fully expecting this nightmare to evaporate like morning fog. What she doesn't know is that the judge has watched that footage multiple times, and he's prepared to deliver a civics lesson she'll never forget. The bailiff's voice cuts through the silence. The state of Rhode Island versus Victoria and Romano. Charges include driving under the influence, destruction of government property, resisting arrest, and threatening law enforcement officers. Victoria glides to the defendant's table like she's accepting an award. She doesn't acknowledge the judge, doesn't look at the prosecutor, doesn't even glance at her own attorney. Instead, she pulls out her phone and starts taking selfies. In a courtroom, during her criminal hearing, Judge Caprio looks up from his documents, his voice carrying the weight of decades on the bench. Good morning, Miss Romano. Silence. Victoria's too busy finding her best angle. Miss Romano, I'm addressing you. She glances up with visible annoyance, like he's interrupted something important. Oh, hi. Sorry, I was just documenting this whole experience for my social media. My followers love seeing how government bureaucracy actually works. She gestures with her phone toward the judge. You don't mind if I stream this live, right? People are fascinated by how their tax dollars get wasted. Judge Caprio's tone shifts, still controlled, but with steel underneath. Miss Romano, you're standing in a court of law, facing serious criminal charges. Put the phone away. Now. Victoria rolls her eyes with theatrical flair and drops the phone into her purse. Fine, but make this quick. I have a spa appointment at noon, and they have a strict cancellation policy. The gallery gasps, comparing a criminal trial to a missed facial appointment. Judge Caprio reviews a police report, his expression growing more serious. Miss Romano, according to the arresting officers, you were operating a vehicle while intoxicated and crashed into a police cruiser at high speed. Victoria waves her hand dismissively. Your Honor, I wasn't intoxicated. I had 2 glasses of wine at a charity function. I was perfectly capable of driving. What happened was an unfortunate accident. You refused the breathalyzer test. Your Honor, I don't submit to roadside procedures conducted by local police. Through my father's position in the Senate, my family has protected status. Judge Caprio leans forward. Miss Romano, senators' family members do not have diplomatic immunity. Victoria looks genuinely confused. That can't be accurate, Your Honor. My father serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He literally helps create the laws. We absolutely have special protections. The judge reads from the report. Miss Romano, when Officer Martinez informed you that you were under arrest, you told him, and I quote, "You can't touch me. I'm Senator Romano's daughter." Care to explain that statement? Victoria straightens confidently. Your Honor, I was simply clarifying the legal reality. Local law enforcement doesn't have jurisdiction over Senate families. It's not personal. It's constitutional hierarchy. You believe police officers can't arrest senators' children? Absolutely, Your Honor. Federal officials and their immediate families are protected from local interference. It's separation of powers. Judge Caprio's voice sharpens. Miss Romano, you threatened the officers' employment because they were performing their duty. Victoria shrugs. Your Honor, I wasn't making threats. I was educating them about governmental structure. Sometimes people in local positions need reminders about the chain of command. The arrogance is breathtaking. Judge Caprio continues. Miss Romano, you claim to have diplomatic immunity. Do you understand what that term actually means? Victoria nods confidently. Your Honor, diplomatic immunity means that government officials and their families cannot be detained by individuals who rank below them in the federal hierarchy. It's basic civics. Miss Romano, diplomatic immunity applies exclusively to accredited foreign diplomats. It has nothing whatsoever to do with senators or their families. Victoria looks irritated. That doesn't sound correct, Your Honor. My father has immunity from prosecution for his legislative work. That protection extends to family members. Judge Caprio studies her carefully. Miss Romano, after you crashed into the police cruiser, what was your primary concern? Victoria answers without hesitation, revealing everything about her character. Your Honor, my immediate concern was that the incident might be photographed and damage my social media presence. I work extremely hard to maintain my personal brand and public image. You weren't concerned about injuries, property damage, public safety? Your Honor, nobody got hurt, and the vehicle damage is covered by government insurance. These situations get resolved through proper administrative channels without involving local courts. You destroyed a police vehicle that served this community's public safety. Victoria actually smiles. Your Honor, police departments have replacement budgets for exactly these situations. They'll get a newer vehicle. I practically did them a favor by accelerating their fleet upgrade. This is where Victoria makes the error that seals her fate. Instead of showing even a flicker of remorse, she doubles down. Your Honor, I appreciate that you have responsibilities to fulfill, but we both understand this case will be resolved through appropriate federal channels. My father's office is already handling the situation at higher levels. The courtroom goes dead silent. Judge Caprio's voice becomes dangerously quiet. Miss Romano, explain what you mean by appropriate federal channels. Victoria leans forward, clearly believing she's about to end this proceeding with superior knowledge. Your Honor, Senator Romano's office has been in contact with the Department of Justice regarding this local overreach. Federal prosecutors will handle this matter if any charges are actually warranted, which they aren't. Miss Romano, are you telling this court that your father is interfering with your criminal case? Victoria nods enthusiastically, completely missing the trap. Exactly, Your Honor. That's standard procedure. Local courts don't have jurisdiction over federal officials' families when they're engaged in government business. You were on government business at 2 a.m. on a Saturday? Your Honor, I was returning from a charity event for disadvantaged youth. Representing my father at community functions is part of my unofficial role as a senator's daughter. Judge Caprio has heard enough. Miss Romano, you just informed this court that you believe senators' children are above local law, that police officers are your family's employees, and that your father is intervening to terminate these proceedings. Victoria straightens, apparently thinking she's won. Judge Caprio's voice becomes absolutely devastating. Let me educate you about something you clearly missed during your privileged upbringing. Victoria listens with infuriating smugness. No one, and I mean no one, is above the law in this country. Not senators, not their children, not anyone. Your father's position grants you zero immunity. Your family's wealth excuses nothing. And your last name makes you exactly as accountable as every other citizen. Victoria's confidence cracks for the first time. Miss Romano, you drove intoxicated and destroyed public property. You threatened law enforcement for doing their jobs. You claimed authority and immunity you do not possess. His voice gains power with each sentence. Most critically, you just confess that your father is attempting to obstruct judicial proceedings. That's not just inappropriate. It's potentially a federal crime. Victoria's face drains a color. Bailiff, contact the FBI's Public Integrity Unit immediately. We have a potential obstruction of justice case requiring urgent investigation. Victoria's eyes go wide with horror. Your Honor, wait. I didn't mean my father was actually interfering. I just meant his office helps clarify these situations when there are misunderstandings. Judge Caprio cuts through her backpedaling like a knife. Miss Romano, you specifically stated your father's office contacted the Department of Justice to handle your case. That's either true, which requires investigation, or false, which constitutes perjury in court. Victoria begins to panic. Your Honor, I may have misspoken. I was just explaining how these situations typically get resolved. Typically suggests this isn't your first time leveraging your father's position to escape consequences. Judge Caprio turns to the prosecutor. Counselor, prepare additional charges for attempted obstruction of justice and making false statements to intimidate law enforcement. Victoria's attorney finally speaks. Your Honor, my client is young and... Counselor, your client is 22 years old and just confessed to federal crimes in open court while under oath. Judge Caprio's voice becomes iron. Miss Romano, for operating a vehicle while intoxicated and destroying government property, I sentence you to 90 days in county jail, a $5,000 fine, and a 2-year license suspension. Victoria barely processes the words before he continues. For threatening law enforcement officers and making false claims of immunity, an additional 30 days and a $2,000 fine. Victoria's voice cracks. Your Honor, this is excessive for a traffic incident. Miss Romano, this is not a traffic incident. This is criminal behavior compounded by abuse of political position. For attempting to obstruct justice through fabricated claims of federal intervention, I'm holding you in contempt of court. His final words land like a gavel strike. Bailiff, take Miss Romano into custody. Immediately, Victoria stands, shock and disbelief warring on her face. Your Honor, you cannot do this. I'm Senator Romano's daughter. You can't touch me. Those 4 words, you can't touch me, seal everything. Judge Caprio's response is final and absolute. Miss Romano, watch me. The bailiff approaches with handcuffs. Victoria backs away, still refusing to accept reality. This is illegal. My father will end your career. You have no authority to arrest me. Miss Romano, you're under arrest for contempt of court. You have the right to remain silent. I strongly suggest you use it. The handcuffs click around her wrists. For the first time in her privileged life, Victoria Romano understands that her last name cannot save her. I want to call my father. Right now, I want to speak to him. Judge Caprio's final statement echoes through the courtroom. Miss Romano, after we investigate your claims about his involvement, your father may need his own attorney. Victoria is escorted from the courtroom in handcuffs, screaming about immunity she never had and connections that cannot help her. Outside, news cameras capture footage of Senator's daughter being loaded into a transport vehicle in shackles. Within hours, Senator Anthony Romano holds a press conference, publicly condemning his daughter's behavior and confirming his office never contacted the Department of Justice about her case. 3 months later, Victoria Romano sits in county jail, finally understanding what millions of Americans already know. In our courts, justice truly is blind. Even the senator's daughters who thought they were untouchable. Judge Caprio didn't just punish criminal behavior that day. He proved that in America, no one, absolutely no one, is above the law.